bunkers. Are you
What, you don't want to
upgrading
do the
those
bunk?
bunkers at all? Are
Because
any of
I
these bunkers going to be fully upgraded by the end of the
I
season?
am. Well, I'm trying to at least do the IO one.
At least the first bunker.
The IO. That's actually the third one.
I mean, you have to do the first two, don't you? Have to.
Oh, do you have to
I
do
don't
them in
know. I
order?
did them all in order when they came out. I have no idea what people are doing with the
Um.
bunkers now. I don't go to them for necessity anymore. I did them all when they came out.
mm. Well, I'd like to at least finish one.
That's the goal. That's the
Yeah. Well,
that's the goal. Is the bunker is this week IO? I think this week is the moon, isn't it? I mean like the main bunker.
with the
Yeah, I
weekly.
think it's the moon. Well,
Um.
whatever. Let's see what we can do in the
Oh,
IO
it's the
bunker.
moon. Okay.
You got your Guardian Games bounties?
I do.
There's no doubt in my mind that this was originally supposed to be an SRL event. In fact, I see more evidence every day that
Really?
this shit is so barren with no actual unique activities based in it that yeah, I think they were relying heavily on having had SRL by the time this came out. And when they didn't, they just had to just quickly mock up a bunch of bounties and weird random shit. I mean, there's absolutely nothing new. It's just
Yeah.
a yuck.
It's a yuck.
Do more of that thing. I mean, it just seems so gutted. Like
Yeah.
it just seems like it's literally what did it bring besides bounties?
Um. Eh. Um.
They could have
Nothing.
let my people go, man.
You know what? I tried to look into it, and
Scuttlebutt.
there's uh there's just no there's no indication that SRL is ever coming back.
You were looking into it.
Yeah.
You find anything conclusive? What were you looking at?
No, it's just silence. Just any indication that anything was happening. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Did you find anything?
And I couldn't find anything at all. No, just weird.
Well, is it like radio silence period or
Yeah.
what do you think that means?
Yeah. Uh, I don't. It's kind of troubling. I wish that there was any scuttlebutt about it at all. You know?
Maybe we should look forward then. Forget about SRL.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like. I don't want SRL to be like a source of constant disappointment. I don't know.
Guardian down.
Uh, I mean, to be fair, they haven't promised it.
They know it's what the community wants.
But they definitely know. Yeah, you're right. That's what everyone wants.
I mean, one of many things, you know. But
Yeah.
I feel like I've just watched them, and even when it's something you can just easily copy paste, it's just
Yeah.
blowing up.
I mean, and think about all they'd need to do to bring it back. We already have a bunch of pharaohs.
Different shapes and sizes.
Like a
and,
buttload of them. Yeah.
Even though there's...
Guardian down.
Ah. All they need to do is create a couple of tracks. I mean, how hard is that?
I mean, they've already created 5 for Destiny
Maybe.
1. It's been years since anybody's played
Yeah.
SRL, so it's not like it would be, oh god, not these again. You could just launch it without
Yeah.
doing anything, and it would still be a fresh mode that guaranteed half of the somehow million concurrent player base has not experienced ad nauseum. Especially since in the original SRL,
Yep.
it was like 2 tracks a season. And they have like 5 tracks I think they've made. Granted, they're all based in Destiny 1 environments.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on. It's the same engine, guys. It's the same engine. Cut it out. It's the same engine with
Yeah.
with more alpha effects, more enemies on screen, better textures. It's just a it's a slightly upgraded version of your Destiny 1 engine.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're like, we can't add things to the game forever. Well, good. I hope that when the time comes, you'll be able to delete the farm. Because, Jesus, there's no room for anything new, but we've still got the farm on the map. Who's going to the farm? Why is it here? Why is it there? Why is the farm there? Why does the farm exist? Why does the
I
farm
don't
exist?
know.
New light takes you straight from the Cosmodrome to the new tower. I saw it. Remember when I said last episode that I was remember when I said last episode that I was going to look into it? Yes, new light takes you from
Good.
the Cosmodrome intro in Destiny 1 directly to the new tower. There is no farm in New Light's intro. Why is the farm still there? Why do you exist?
I don't know.
No one's going to Tyra Karn to decode their engrams. Okay? No one. People need to go to Hawthorne.
So in New
People go to
Light,
Hawthorne in the
even-
tower. They don't go to Hawthorne on the farm. Even Hawthorne was like, peace.
And you like, do you even go to the farm at all?
I mean,
Like, is the farm
the
even
farm is.
there?
I mean, the farm is on the destinations map.
So why would you even go there? Like, if it's not part of the store. Oh, I guess
mean, you can
because
go there for-
I guess if you do the red,
For 0.
if you do the red war, so yeah, then you would actually.
No, but
go
dude,
there.
they dump you in the
okay.
tower before you even know what happened. They put you in the tower. They put you there. What is this?
Okay.
What is that in the background? Who is that?
So they
Why
put you
am I here? Oh God.
in.
Literally go straight from the cosmos.
So wait, they put you
Destiny
in
2.
the tower.
Mm-hmm.
So they put you in the tower, even though technically the old tower is still there because the Red War hasn't happened for you. Right?
You just want me to say it. You just want me to say it so you can get the soundbite.
What? What is it that I want you to say?
You just want me to say that yes, that's exactly what happens. A time paradox happens. A literal time paradox is how new light players are introduced to the world.
So you literally go forwards
Yep.
in time and then back
Yes.
in time so that the old tower can get destroyed. And then you you go to the No, wait. But don't you have to like go talk
Breaking Jessica's
to
brain in
Amanda
5,
to get the
4,
mission?
3, 2. Have you snapped? Up, and there she goes. And she's running around up, and she's running around in circles. And the crab is out. Yep. Okay. Yep. Just calm down. Listen. Stop. Okay. Listen. Look. All right. Think of the ghost. Think of the laurels. Okay.
I
Think
just-
of the ghost. All right. Look at the ghost. here, here.
testicles.
Okay. How close are we to earning this for you?
Let's see. Let me look at where I am on the quest.
Speaking of,
Oh my God! What the
speaking,
hell? I'm on
holy
29%. How many laurels do I need to get? Jesus.
Oh boy, that's a lot of laurels.
Okay, it says I need to collect laurels
Final
by
blows with supers,
final blows with
grenades,
supers,
and
grenades, and charged melee abilities.
Gonna have to get a lot of
Oh, you
laurels.
know what I need to do
You know what?
then?
It's a good thing we're both warlocks. Maybe we can, yeah. At least laurels matching your class will get you 3 points, and we're both warlocks tonight, so that'll do something. Do you want to do this legendary sector?
Okay,
Okay.
let's do that. And let me, instead of the escape artist, let me
Cabal,
use
barrier, unstoppable.
the. Hold on, let me equip the your favorite warlock exotic.
Which one is that?
It's a gauntlet.
Wait. What, the getaway artist?
No.
Oh, I really like those. I really like those. What, the claws? The claws of Hubadu? Are they?
The claws of Dire Ahamkara. Not quite.
Then I have no idea because my favorite gauntlets are the getaway artists. I don't know what you're talking. What are you talking about?
Those are my favorite gauntlets. Hold on. I'm gonna equip it. Patience.
Sunbreakers? The Sunbracers? Controverse holds?
The Sunbreakers? No.
Okay, then, yeah. We're completely out of all of the gauntlets that I actually like in the game. So, whatever this is, it'll be a surprise.
Okay, one sec.
I was just fiddling around in our inventory. Ah! Episode 138 of the playlist. It's a disgruntled night tonight. The Doritos inch ever closer. I am disgruntled, yes. The Doritos inch closer. They have passed the belt at this point. Shit is going down. Speaking of developments, my dear co-host Gabriel, aka She Who Falls. Yes, you talking about tower developments, things happening to the tower, new light, etc. I take it you heard about what happened recently involving the tower.
Yes.
Some people have
Apparently, some people have discovered that underneath the tower, our current much beloved tower, there is a destroyed version of the tower, which means that we may just get clipped by the Almighty. After all.
by the Almighty. I mean, all right, listen.
Yeah, we may just get clipped.
Listen. I know that J.J. Abrams. I know that J.J. Abrams doesn't want to get into the raw science behind what a giant planet-shaped spacecraft crashing into a planet would actually do to it. I mean, you know, he loves his MacGuffins so much that he did not consider what a planet-sized piece of debris falling from space into another planet would actually do to it. But are you telling me that despite ours and Rasputin's best efforts, that this potentially hints at a piece of the Almighty crashing into the tower and not completely obliterating it?
Yeah. According to a glitch
How big?
by
Oh, a glitch by who? Really?
uh, apparently somebody glitched their way into a version of the tower that looks to be kind of destroyed.
How destroyed would you say this chunk? How destroyed would you say this chunk is?
I mean, not too destroyed, but definitely noticeable enough. So like maybe a part of it that we don't normally go down would get destroyed. Like maybe the area around Zavala's office, perhaps I would say.
Really? That's what some people say. It looked like it crashed into
Yeah.
the Eververse, which I thought was pretty funny.
That would be so funny.
Like, whoops. Well, guess we'll have to earn our gear instead of buy it now. Tess, you will be missed.
Mm.
Not really. But, you know, so I'm sure somebody will miss you. Some noob.
The crazy thing is, when Tess Everest first appeared in the tower, she was welcome.
Because she was giving people Thriller dances.
Yeah.
Because she gave us Thriller dances, okay? She provided us with the Carlton. She came. You see the rule of most drug dealers, right? Is what the first hit is free. So she came in a mildly inoffensive, you know, somewhat value-filled form. Before Destiny 2 came out, and she was like, "Well, I'm going to take 2/3 of all the loot." And then they were like, "What? What do you mean you're taking actual loot? But Eververse things can't be found anywhere else." Yes, Guardian. That's why I've taken 2/3 of the game's loot. Wait, that's not the way. Yeah, you know. She came in all innocuous, you know, with the Michael Jackson dances, and she. But then, her nefarious.
She
agenda,
came in with the Thriller
her nefarious
dances.
agenda was soon became clear.
Revealed itself. Yes.
And then we realized that 2/3 of the items
really?
in the season were Everversed. Barrier.
Oh, whoops. Well then.
You know javelins run out after a while, right? Ah, fuck it.
Yeah, sorry.
Clearly,
Oh,
I need
jeez.
to just put on a barrier weapon. I don't have any barrier weapons.
Whoa.
Guardian down.
Uh-oh.
So you think that's what the season's going to culminate in? Do you think it's going to be a mid-season
you.
event? Like, what have we stumbled upon? It's weird that if they were going to do that, it was going to be an instance, and if it was going to be an instance, that they would have it sitting layered under the tower so early. You know, usually, well, good old video game secrecy. You know, usually when you have something like that occur, it's just video game trickery. Like, this isn't really destroyed. We're just swapping out the clean model for the destroyed model. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that somebody found that. Maybe. I mean, yeah. I mean, I have a couple of theories. It could be that, right? Or...
Nothing. Go on. What were we saying?
It could be that. Or it could be, I don't know, it could just be an old model of something else they were working on that they never bothered to remove.
That's a possibility.
That seems unlikely, but it could be
'cause
it, you know?
I don't think they leave it there for that long, you know? And like, if it were something that they discarded, or, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like I said, it's going to be the season of worth. This is the season of the worthy. This is the season of worth. And at the beginning of that story, the Almighty crashes into the Eververse and completely obliterates it. And with no additional revenue streams coming into the tower, you as the Guardian have to establish a new economic foothold for the tower. And that'll be the storyline guiding next
Oh,
season.
really?
Yeah. It's gonna be called Season of the Worth. They're just gonna take the Y off the end. Yeah.
Season of the Worth.
Just Worth. Okay. Barriers. No. Just gonna take out this barrier, Colossus.
I figured I'd take that.
Double back. You still didn't tell me what exotic you were wearing.
Oh, you know what? I have the claws of the Ahamkara on right now,
That's what I said.
but
You said no.
I was really gonna put on is the Ophidian aspect.
Why would you do that? You put
Because
that
it's
thing
your
on just to
favorite.
troll me. Like, we're doing a legendary lost sector, and you still gotta troll me. Gideon, man, get. We're gonna be deleting her after this, so. All of the deletes, all of the deletions.
All of the deletions.
You know, I could just have a arc firebolt grenade objective going on for my Guardian games. Okay.
Mhm.
So while you out here
You
stealing
could.
my kills, killing my steals. Attunement of Sky or
You know
Attunement
what?
of
I
the
should
Flame. I mean, we're
switch.
both Dawnblades, so hopefully we're both getting each other's objectives on that front because they do seem to be somewhat team based.
Yeah.
Hello, heavy flame. Go forth and destroy. Go forth, my minion. Go.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, he's gone. Oh, there's the boss. Look at him.
Oh.
Guardian down.
Oh, there
I don't know
you
why I did that.
Dirty beasts. Beasts. Are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Thank you.
Guardian down.
Oh,
I don't think that boss likes you very much. I'll be right over.
plus I died due to a misadventure.
Oh no, that was definitely that
Perfect.
boss. He's being a jerk. Girl, where your javelins is?
I don't think I can use them down here yet.
That's not good.
Ah. What? Oh.
Oh, don't forget to open the Rasputin one.
Never mind, bitch. Yes! Oh, I was trying to hug you. It wouldn't let me.
That's because you're mean.
I'm
You're the
not
meanest of the
mean.
warlocks. So I don't know. I
am
think that
not
sounds like a
mean.
pretty cool, if not foregone conclusion. But I'm still looking up in the sky, okay, and I'm not seeing the Almighty. Bungie, where's the Almighty?
Still not seeing the
I wanna
Almighty.
look
I don't
up and
know.
see that beast.
I
I went on Reddit and somebody photoshopped
Maybe-
the moon from Majora's Mask onto the freaking, like, it looks like it's coming down from like the left side next to the Traveler, and I'm like, see, somebody with Photoshop in like 2 minutes did it. Just put the moon in the skybox, and it looks hilarious. I don't know, dude. How do you feel about the sense of urgency?
Well, it would be weird if we. Well, here's why Guardian Games is so weird, though, right? Like, we got Space Doritos headed
Yes.
our way, and the Almighty's headed our
Indeed.
way. But we, we're taking three weeks, to just have a contest about whose class is cooler. I don't really get that. And I guess it would definitely like not be what's the word?
In Congress?
It would definitely not be the distraction they want it to be if the Almighty was just sitting out there.
I mean,
Like, hey guys, have fun with this. Oh, but just ignore the giant spaceship headed your way. No
I
big.
mean, I'm just saying. I feel like there's a conflict of interest here. Like I wanna, I I personally, you know, I mean, I already knew that Titans were superior. I didn't need to be reminded,
Oh, did
at
you?
the behest of. I mean, come on. I mean, shoulder game, shoulder game on fleek. How do you think they're gonna take the Almighty out? Shoulders. That's the way they work. That's the way
Oh,
they
with
work.
shoulders? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Gambit or Gambit Prime? Yeah, you wanna do some Gambit? That's what my medals are for today.
Gambit?
Yeah, Gambit.
Nothing else? Really? You don't have any for strikes or for?
I mean,
I only ask because we spent the entire last stream playing Gambit.
uh, um,
You don't have medals for anything
um,
else, really?
I mean, not medals, no. The ones I picked up today are for either forges or Gambit.
Okay. Did you ever pick up anything else for the forges?
No. I don't know. I guess we could do some forges.
Well,
That'd be okay.
it's not as clear cut. I mean, you still have to pick up a frame and then you'll have to power it up, and I'm just asking because.
Mm,
All right, so let's see. What have you got here? You've got what? Only thing you've.
I've got collect laurels in Gambit or Gambit
Mm-hmm.
Prime. Defeat combatants in Gambit or
Mm-hmm.
Gambit Prime. Defeat combatants in any forge. I actually picked that up
Defeat
by
combatants at
accident.
any forge. I
Um,
mean, you can always do forges without having
yeah.
anything to forge. If all you have to do is defeat people, but hit it, hit it. Tell me what. Nothing for strikes.
And then earn points by completing Guardian game bounties.
You don't have any medals for anything else, like destinations, Crucible.
Nope. I have, so then I have bounties, right? Like, as a dawn blade, use an instrument in the sky, defeat, whatever. Just basically, you be a
Okay.
dawn blade. Um, gather materials in any destination. Defeat titans and hunters in Gambit or in the Crucible. Oh, I could do the Crucible. And then generate laurels. That's it. That's what I have. Oh wait. Oh yeah. There. I have a lot more. Okay. Defeat combatants on any destination. Raid strikes and quest missions do not contribute to progress. Okay. Basically, kill things on anything other than strikes. Collect laurels on a destination.
Oh,
Uh, defeat combatants on any destination. I do have one for strikes, my bad.
Okay.
Defeat enemies in the Vanguard Strikes playlist. So I could do 4 strikes in the Vanguard Strikes playlist.
That's doable if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
And then, yeah. Yeah, actually, I do have some for strikes. I'm sorry. They were just buried on my next page
Well,
for
I mean,
some
if you
reason.
ever know what you want to do, you can always look at the unfinished. You know, there is that tab that's full of the strikes you haven't done, or whatever's pertinent to the current season. I got all those crazy tabs for you.
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, we could do strikes, actually. That was my mistake.
Tower Guardians. They're cutting off your arc supply.
You wanna go do some strikes?
Sure. I mean,
Okay.
why would I not want to?
I don't know, you could be very anti-strike.
Nah. I mean, I wish they weren't so long. They feel long.
Guardian down.
Okay.
But other than...
Alright, so let me
Hold on a second.
just...
Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
Give me a sec.
Okay.
There we go. Hopefully that got you die by the sword. Did you get it?
I was dead. So...
Still didn't get it? Oh well. It was that Guardian Games bounty where you kill enemies with the Dawn Blade from far away.
Oh, hold on, let me check.
Those seem like team-based bounties. That's why I asked. It seems like it would be a team bounty. Because I just knocked it out. Attunement of Flame or Attunement of Sky. Defeat enemies with Dawn Blade. Or Dawn Blade. Defeat Titans and Hunters and Gambit of the Crucible. Yeah, okay. Gather materials.
Yeah, that didn't do anything for mine, actually. So I think I have to do it.
Out?
That is not team-based.
It has to be because you got the first 8. I can guarantee you I did not get 8 Dawnblade kills. You got like the first 7 or so. Because I didn't do it.
Okay. Alright.
It's all good. Maybe you just had to have been near me.
Well, alright, let's...
Alright, let's get out of here.
Alright, let's go do the strike.
Speaking of moment-to-moment things, Bungie said something. Yeah, we have a little bit of news regarding how seasons are gonna work. So they're saying that content that comes out or anything related to the storylines, like say like Sundial, that they're gonna stay in the world throughout the year, just without the extra. Just without the extra, like say the extraneous elements related to the season. So, like for example, if Sundial, like say we kept Season of the Dawn around, the Sundial activity would remain, but the obelisks and all of the fractaline, like all of that stuff would disappear. But the actual Sundial activity itself would remain.
Oh, okay. So what would you do there if you... I guess they'd have to...
You'd be able to earn fractaline,
Yeah,
from the Sundial and still play the Sundial activity, still get the weapons. But the entire grind around the obelisks and powering that up and all, like that would all be taken out just to kind of streamline the experience and keep it from interfering with the current season and the current season's materials.
I see, okay.
Because, like right now, we're collecting Warmind bits and powering up bunkers so that we can do Seraph Towers. In that logic, say, like 2 seasons from now, the Seraph Towers would still be there, but the bunkers and the Warmind bits would be gone.
Oh, I see. That would be cool, actually.
Yeah,
I
like
wouldn't
the
mind that.
extraneous elements of the season that were directly related to the season would disappear, but the activity itself would still be there for, you know, players to engage in and play. And so that's kind of what they're planning to do, or at least that's the way they plan to have the activities, you know, kind of stay their course. Now, that's to say, well, you would ask yourself, well then, if that's the case, then why not just wait out the whole season? You know, like, I don't want to deal with obelisks and all that bull crap and all that. Like, why don't I just wait until the end of the season until they cut the requirements down considerably and just play the activity and get the loot and stuff, right? Like, why don't I just do that? Well, my crafty friend, there's an answer to that. Just because the mainline activity itself is going to be left behind doesn't necessarily mean that you are still reaping the full benefits of somebody who stuck around and played the season, did the obelisks. You know, if you remember, say, using Sundial as an example, doing the obelisks themselves got us mods. They got us special charged with light mods. They got us special weapons. We also got to roll endlessly for the weapons we wanted. Play activities, get what we wanted.
Yep.
If you are in that position, say you missed the season and all that's left is the Sundial, you're still not getting the full experience that someone who stuck it out for the season got. But you are at least not being robbed of the activity in hindsight. So people that do stick around and, you know, play it during the season and everything are still not going to, you know, they're still going to get considerably more out of the content. But the way it's set up, at least you don't lose it entirely, you know, when it's gone. And I said, okay, I can appreciate that.
That's actually
like,
pretty
I can appreciate
cool.
that. If you stuck around and rolled your face
really
off,
like that.
you're not at a disadvantage to somebody who's just like, I'm going to wait until it's over and just reap. Like, there's no reaping. You will reap, but you will not reap nearly as much as somebody who, you know, played the season. And that's nothing to say of seasonal exotics, etc., you know?
Right. Like, you still wouldn't get, like, the seasonal exotic. You would just be able to still play the activity.
Like, and, you know, you're not going to get as much, you know, because when we had Fractaline, if you remember, you could just roll those weapons endlessly through the obelisk. That's what I did. Oh, man. I rolled like a beast until I got the perfect paradox I wanted. And so I think that's a...
I actually got tons of rolls myself. That was really cool.
I rolled you a really good pyroclastic flow. I think it had Genesis and what's it called? It had something. It had Genesis and auto-loading holster or something like that. It was really good.
Yeah, I know.
Like little things like that are fun, and why the nuts that still play this game, you know, play it. It's like there's just something very rewarding about finally getting that roll you wanted. Getting it right the way you wanted it to. Some of it hasn't like stuck a hole in it, but I mean, to quote Paul Tassi, you know, he could kind of see the problems, the inherent problems with what the seasonal model was promising anyway from jump, and he has no idea how it ever got greenlit.
Interesting that that's how he feels.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea that your developers are going to be working on content for 1 to 3 months just to have it be irrelevant later on is kind of a, you know, that's kind of a shaky proposition even to begin with, because it's like, so we're going to work on this stuff, these assets, you know, and then we're just going to junk it? Like, it's, that's a tough sell. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of this stuff takes a lot of time to build. Just for you to go, well, you know, we're going to delete it.
Hey, you had to be there.
You know, in theory, it's kind of shaky, and in practice, it's a little bit shakier. It's kind of tough to, like, really go, I mean, I couldn't have foreseen that the side effect would just be people just getting exhausted. Because it's one thing when you willingly engage. I mean, it's one thing. Well, again, it's one thing when you willfully engage with content and say, "I'm gonna do this over and over until I get what I want." It's another thing when you have to do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's gonna be gone. That's an entirely different proposition, and I think seeing it play out in practice, for you and I, not so much of a
I
problem.
mean,
But then I
yeah.
started thinking about like my friends and other people, and I'm like, oh no. Because like, what if they
Yeah.
miss this thing? You know, exotics on a season pass, sure. I actually see the merit in that. Like, hey, you know, we have the Devil's Ruin, we have Ariana's Vow, we have the Symmetry, we have, you know, weapons that are on the season pass, sure, because you got to pay for it, you know, and you get your money's worth when you pay for stuff. Like that, I can understand being a,
Yeah.
well, if you didn't get it, it's not there, kind of thing, because that's actual money.
Mhm.
But to say that,
Yeah.
you know, you go from the phenomena of turning on Destiny after a while and there being a shit ton of things to do, to turning on Destiny after a while and there's a few things to do and kind of hints that you missed a bunch of stuff that's no longer there.
Yeah.
That's a little bit tougher.
And you know, I think, yeah. You know, the whole idea of, hey, you had to be there, it wasn't because, it was more
It wasn't because
organic
you
than
weren't
that,
there and
you
never
know?
had a
It was,
chance to do it again.
right, right. It's because of the community. The community
Hmm.
did that.
Yes, yes.
You know, like, yeah, you had to be there
I got my Galahorn the
you
first
know,
time.
somebody, yeah, like, that was the community. The community did that. The community went crazy when they got their Galahorn.
Yes. Like the you, yeah, you're right. The you had.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sorry.
so instead of trying to artificially create these moments, I think Bungie should instead focusing on crafting an interesting narrative that we can latch on
Mm.
to. I think that's just my, you know, that's
I mean, you ain't wrong, Krabby. It is the interesting narrative and or, you know, adherence to the commandments of RNGesus that made those you had to, because that, yeah, that is what crafted the you had to be there moments, or, you know, beating King's
yeah,
Fall the first time, or, you know, finally getting that loot, are those you had to be there moments. But if the developer is making them, then it's more like they're
hmm,
just creating FOMO. Like it's out of your
yeah,
hands
right,
if you don't have any agency. Because why else would you have had to be there unless the developer
hmm,
said so?
right, right. It's not exactly the same thing. The developer didn't say you had to be there when I got my Galahorn. The developer just said kill this thing, and maybe there will be a Galahorn in it for you.
Yeah, that's true. See, how
Yeah.
do we know these things? How did we get this? How did we get this insight? How did this happen?
I don't know.
I mean, are we not playing the same game? Do we not see footage of Bungie and their Vidocs
Playing the
playing
same
this game? Are
game.
they playing this game?
We do. And I guess it's hard when you're in it, you know? Like, the interesting thing is, if we've seen Destiny devs play their own game, it becomes pretty clear they're not great at it.
But they don't have to be.
They're not. They're not great at it. They're just like, yeah, whatever.
I won't. Okay, listen. I won't blanket the whole team. There are definitely people on the Destiny team who have at least some degree of proficiency when it comes to play testing and or playing and or Aeon Soul Gauntlets, really. When it comes to playing their product, but I mean, they don't have to be as good as, you know. Listen. They don't have to be PvP gods, okay? I think it's safe to say
No.
that over the course of Halo's life cycle, they weren't nearly as good as the MLG Major League Gaming Hello first version of esports Hello players that it would eventually latch onto it. But they knew enough about the game and the way it should feel and play. I mean, these are the people that made it. I mean, it doesn't feel this way by accident. So I won't call them like
Right.
complete
That's true.
noobs. I mean, they're the reason it looks and feels this way. But just to
Yeah,
be a
that's
little bit
true.
more, you know, in touch with exactly what your community likes about the game. I think goes a long way. You know, rather than trying to craft the experience around getting people to play it a certain way, but really find out exactly what it is that drew people in the first place. You know,
Yeah. Right.
like I love using swords, okay?
Oh man.
But you don't have to force me to use them by attaching a seasonal mod to them that that makes me have to use them, or at least makes it a viable option. You know, rather than do that, why not just create enemies that are only susceptible to that kind of combat, or like in-your-face enemies that using a gun is more trouble than it's worth because they're that in your face. So you would rather use a sword, or you'd rather have a sword equipped. Like, say if the
Right.
thrall took more than one hit to kill, right? Those are very in-your-face, annoying enemies because I mean, in any game that has less AIs to deal with, the thrall would be the enemies that force you out of cover, that would force you from hanging back and shooting at things because they're just running up to you. And if they were more than, you know, just tissue paper as far as health goes, you'd want a viable way to get them out of your face. That's a reason to use a sword, or at least have one in your inventory just in case, you know, rainy day. You know, that's making it a necessity rather than, well, we kind of want people to use swords a bit more, so we're going to attach one of the champion mods to the sword this season. It's like, yeah, kind of, but I don't know if there's been an increase in sword usage. I think people are still using whatever they want to use. I mean, and the end result is, hey man, I still really like swords. So, I mean, I still use them, but do you use swords at all? See?
Nah.
So that's the kind of thing.
You know, maybe if I'm more working on like a banshee bounty or
See,
something like that.
See, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I would, you know, that's the way you should really do it. Not so much I need to control the brains of my fan base, but give them a reason to do the thing. It's like going to the farm. You have no reason to go. You want to know the one reason you have to go to the farm? If you have progressed through the 0 hour quest, and you want to get the exotic Outbreak Perfected.
Oh yeah.
Because that fallen captain is waiting for you at the farm underneath the barn.
Yeah.
That is literal incentive for me to want to go to the farm. Because I still haven't beaten that quest yet. But that's an incentive to go there. It's not just because it's there. Like,
you should do
nah,
that.
man,
Yeah.
give me a quest. Send me there organically, you know? Just like the 0 hour quest does. I think if they really want to engage people with all of these interesting little microsystems and things that they've stuck in this game, little bits and pieces of stuff, all the stuff. It's a bunch of stuff. You know, craft gameplay around it. I think it's strange.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's terribly strange, but you know, you can defeat a lot of the enemies in this game the exact same way. There's no. The effectiveness is really down to you. But the variety in the weapon types are not exactly held to any kind of like standard. It's kind of this does more damage than the other thing. This fires faster.
Yeah.
This has crab, you know. This is the crab type weapon. Yeah. You know, I would love ideally for there to be a decisive modus operandi, because I walk around with a full toolkit just because I do, but that's something I imposed upon myself. I just happen to have something for every situation. But not everybody equips themselves like that, and I think a bigger question should be, if not, then why? Like, why don't people have Swiss Army knives?
Yeah.
Because you're not forced to. People that do have Swiss Army knives are at a distinct advantage when it comes to running around these creatures, but there's nothing that tells you that you have to do it this way, even though it would be ideal.
Right.
So maybe that's the ticket.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's just the same, like the same way we needed the touch of malice to even think about fighting Oryx effectively. I would love to think, hey man, I'm going to the moon. All right, clearly I have to bring a shotgun, my explosive weapons. You know, the Hive are really strong with all their magic and all their elemental crud, but they don't exactly fare well against ballistic weapons. You know, they fold under ballistic weapons. So I'm like, all right, I have to bring a hand cannon, shotgun, you know, sniper rifle, ballistics. And it's like, oh crap, well I'm fighting the Vex. Well, their bodies are made out of metal. I mean, they're shells anyway, the shells that hold it, so metal. So ballistics aren't terribly effective because they're made out of metal. All right, well this is the perfect time to bring my energy weapons.
Yeah.
You know, fusion rifles, hard light, fusion rifles, trace rifles. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are, yeah, sure, you can shoot them with something else, but these work exceptionally well. And it's like, all right, now I have a reason to actually bring the cold heart, or the, what was it, the cold heart, the wave splitter, or the Prometheus lens. Like, now I have a real reason, because I know this is a Vex planet. I gotta melt these things.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many ways to really distinguish these enemies and make them more than just this one flies, this one farts. Halo, to a degree, kind of did that, which is funny. Because, I don't know if you remember, if you tried to... Flood were weak against ballistics. Shotguns, pistols, rocket launcher.
Yeah.
And if you tried to use the Covenant's plasma weapons against them, it barely did anything. Because they were meat.
That's true. Halo was very much
like
that.
The Flood were meat, so using plasma weapons against them didn't do anything. But like one shot from a pistol or a shotgun, you'd shoot off their limbs. You know.
Yeah.
It'd be very easy, I think, to make that kind of distinction.
I mean, yeah, that's true. That's true. In Halo, it was very distinct, though. Like,
well, it wasn't trying to be an MMO type game. So they had a lot more leeway when it came to working on the enemies being really unique in enemy placement. Because that's just the reality of a game that can support like 20, 30 enemies on the screen at once. The AI pool is extremely divided. So there's less room for individuality and more room for like mobs of things to just run at you. It's like why people would abhor. It's honestly why people abhorred Dynasty Warriors for years upon years, because Dynasty Warriors. Well, yeah, you could totally see Dynasty Warriors as a brainless beat 'em up, even though people that played the game tell you otherwise, rightfully so. But you could see it as a brainless beat 'em up because Dynasty Warriors used to tout what? Having hundreds of enemies on the screen at once. So I mean, they were all kind of stupid. But it was still hundreds of enemies on the screen. You know, but, you know.
yeah.
But Dynasty Warriors was still fun.
Hash Ladoon is dead.
Because it knew how to distinguish its enemies and make them, you know, unique by your approach. Your approach to them had to be different, even though they were just kind of boobs.
Ambitions for the pyramid's influences. Return to me.
The enemies themselves were
they were
There's
boobs.
much to discuss.
If you stood still, you could see it. They would just be like, poke, poke, sidestep, sidestep. You know, their strength was definitely in numbers. It wasn't like Ninja Gaiden where you'd be racking your brain just trying to figure out how to fight one brown ninja. And then the white ones would come down and you're like, oh god, those are the ones that throw things.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, there's definitely a way to do it. I hope they figure it out. I think their new seasonal model and their new approach, or at least what they're saying is going to be their new efforts towards making the story more significant season to season. Because I think the Season of the Dawn to Season of Worthy jump was so jarring that it definitely highlighted the problem in a nice nutshell.
Okay.
I mean, you don't think so? I felt like, well, all right. I felt like going from Season of the Undying, Season of the Undying to Season of the Dawn. I think we were so excited about Saint 14 that we didn't see it then, but it was kind of in a weird, abrupt story shift. It was just like, now this is the new season. Now this is but the Saint 14 story was so strong, relatively. It was so relatively strong that we didn't really mind the fact that nothing from Season of the Undying really played into Season of the Dawn all that significantly. We just kind of went to the next season and didn't really notice. Because we were like, Saint 14!
Yeah, that's true.
But
it was cool though, like the way that it was a nicely told story, even though I will admit it was confusing to me that, like, the story was like, how do I put it? Like, the starting point of the story was not clear.
The hive is back, Guardian.
You kind of had to know
Small
to do a
army is
specific
amassing
quest.
deep below the surface of
well,
the Martian
yeah,
ice
but it did at least lead you in. I mean, we had to go to Osiris,
heretic who needs
talk
be
to
stopped
him,
at all costs.
see what was up with that, and then we went on the quest, and then, you know, it at least did start. But I mean, like, when you go, there's like no connective tissue. It was just like, here's the new story. And it was
Right.
intriguing enough and had enough attached to it that we didn't really notice. But Season of the Worthy having nothing really, I think, made it obvious that the story was not really transitioning so much from season to season as it was just abruptly changing. Because with nothing in Season of the Worthy to distract us from that point, we noticed it right away. Like, wait, what? Now we're doing what now? Why?
Yeah.
We could have said the same thing after Season of the Undying, but again, Saint 14 was so cool that we were just like, alright.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we took out the Undying Mind. Why? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't even remember why.
I mean, you
we
could have
did that.
even... You could have even said that defeating the Undying Mind finally, without that in the timelines, made Saint 14's presence more clear in the sundial. Like, you could say that the presence of the Undying Mind would have guaranteed a future that Saint 14 always dies in. And that having defeated the Undying Mind, that path in time was now clear.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what's interesting? There's some lore that's on the Destiny website that kinda does that, but it's not super clear about it.
Do tell, do tell.
So there's some lore where Osiris is in the Forbidden Forest, in the, you know, the
The
forest.
Forest of the Forbidden.
And
Fern Gully?
yeah,
The last rainforest?
and oh, whoops!
What did you do?
I don't know what that was about.
Did you throw... You
I think
threw
I
it all the way
threw-
down there?
Yeah.
Bless N7 Lion. He's like these noobs.
I did not,
He's like these noobs.
I did not mean to do that. He actually went down and got it. Very nice of him.
Mumbling to himself all the way down.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
He's like, it's one of those missions again, is it? So you were saying?
Yeah, so Osiris is in the Forbidden Forest, and they reach, at a certain point, they reach a simulation that's all darkness. And Osiris is like, what the fuck? Where are we? And Segura's like, well, we always are, you know, simulated Mercury. And he's like, well, why? How come we've never seen this simulation before? And she's like, well, actually, all simulated futures are now this.
What?
And he's like, what changed? Yeah. He's like, what changed? And she's like, actions of our mutual friend.
Hmm.
And then the next thing you see is Osiris talking to Ikora and like some other warlocks about how he's like, well, what did you guys do? And she's like, oh, you know, we did this and this and this. And he's like, I can't believe you did that.
Wait,
because
what?
Now here's the
Wait, what did she say? What's this and this and this? Did she say that verbatim?
So she talked. She didn't say this and this and this. She basically, like, see, this is what I mean. Like, she doesn't actually say, oh, you know, we built a gate and killed the Undying Mind. But this is immediately following that.
Oh. So
Right.
what we did was bad?
So this implies that what we did actually made it so that all simulated futures turned into darkness.
I would have loved to have known that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but it's not super clear. Yeah,
What?
I'll send you the link. It's actually, it's, you know when sometimes Bungie posts
I told you she built that thing out of mega blocks. I
post
told you this was a
lore.
bad idea. See?
On the website,
Mhm.
like not in the game for some bizarre reason, just in their
I would love to
blog.
get a weekly update that says new lore in the lore tab. Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Insane.
So you can see
So
what
that
I
means
mean.
the conclusion of Season of the Undying is that we inadvertently created a future where nothing but darkness remained.
Yeah, so he stepped into Mercury and all he saw was darkness. Basically. And it's called Mutual Friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, it ain't, I mean, Ikora told me to do it. I said, "Are you sure, Ikora? This looks like
And
it's made out of
that-
paper mache." And she said, "Yes, Guardian." I said, "I don't know." And that's why.
Well, okay, so then that's what led him to create the sundial. That's why he did it. Because he had to find a way to fix it, basically.
So what was his solution? So his solution involved finding Saint 14? That's what we did.
Yes. Well, no, that was not his solution. But
A side effect?
yeah.
Huh.
I'll send you the link so you can read it, because it's like it kind of says that like there's nothing else that we did during Season of the Undying that could have changed simulated futures, except go through a crazy portal we built and kill the Undying Mind, right?
In every timeline.
In every timeline, right?
Does that mean that we need... I always try to look in the
That we
secondary
need
meeting.
the Undying
Yeah, like we
Mind?
need this evil to exist so that we can stop it. Like completely eliminating it just creates a future of nothing but darkness.
Or maybe
Like,
indirectly,
we need an enemy.
you know, like it's like
Or
a
we need something to contrast.
like a kind of like a butterfly effect type thing.
It makes me think of those passages in the book. You know, the way they were saying, you know, you need absolute good is not entirely possible if it's the only thing that exists. You know, it's why
Right.
it's why the crazy echo chambers that dominate our culture right now end up eating each other, because once you have eliminated your common enemy, there's nothing left for you to do except turn on each other. And the new evil becomes the one who is the least good. Even if you're all good, the new evil is the one that isn't as good.
Right.
So, you know, in defeating
Right.
the undying mind, we just created nothing but darkness because what we think is the ideal future, a future where the evil is just eradicated, is not really possible. You need the contrast. Otherwise, what is and what isn't?
Yeah.
I like that idea because it plays nicely into the idea of Dark Guardians.
Oh, yeah? You really like this Dark Guardians
Because
idea,
it
don't
makes
you?
sense. It just makes sense. Like, if we are what we are as we exist, how do you, again, how do you make morality when everyone is good? You can't. I mean, the new evil just becomes the least good, or the one who isn't as good. I mean, dude, you've seen it happen in real time. What happens when these Twitter people eat all their enemies? They're eating each other. They start looking into each other's Twitter histories. And they start
Yeah.
just consuming each
Sure.
other wholesale. And then it's suddenly not about being, you know, an ist. It's about how good of an ist you are. So, I mean, in the same coin, if we get rid of all the dark stuff, I mean, don't less virtuous guardians become the enemy? And that's predicated on the idea that all
Hopefully
guardians
not.
are good. You have people like the Drifter. Who
We know
are-
they're not.
Yeah, I mean, the Drifter will tell you some
Yeah.
horrible stories about, you know, people's ghosts. I assume that all ghosts were happy and plucky and happy-go-lucky, and so I
Yeah.
heard some of the Drifter's stories.
If you ever found Tolan's ghost, that is not a happy, lucky ghost
Oh,
at
really?
all. Yeah, you can find Tola's ghost on the moon
Why?
somewhere. Like, you know, those like dead ghost
Yeah, yeah.
stories or whatever. It's ghost that's on the moon.
And Tolan's ghost is not a nice sort.
No, Tolan's ghost is, you know, he. Well, I'll tell you one thing. He had Tolan's back, that's for sure.
Okay.
But he was not a happy-go-lucky soul.
He wasn't like our ghost.
No.
Charmingly
Not at all.
naive, yet extremely knowledgeable.
Right. No, he's not like our ghost. He's like, basically, he's like, you're all a bunch
Whoa.
of bitches. Not like Toland.
Excuse me.
You call him Toland the Shatter.
I call him Tolan the Shat. Wow. This game is rated teen. Why would you say that, Tolan Ghost? What? I was just quoting the ghost. Wait.
What?
What? Why am I mean? I was saying that in the spirit of the ghost.
Oh, okay. Because I'm not even sure what that means, but it sounds inappropriate. I'm too young for
really?
that. Yeah.
Excuse you, okay? This game is rated T for teen, okay? That means up to 17 years old can play this.
Up to 17?
You know,
Okay.
17 and up, then it's, you know, that's the M rating. And that's how you get that N. Destiny's not rated M, okay? For Monaco.
It's not. Not M for Monaco? Oh man.
I always thought that was funny I always thought that was funny that Halo became the esports phenomenon it was. Despite being an M-rated game, like, I don't think people ever really acknowledged at length that Halo was an M-rated game. Because it was. But, what made it M-rated was so innocuous and easy to ignore that no one really ever cared. In fact, I think that was like one of those hindsight goofs that people were like, yeah, really, why was it rated M? Our standards were higher back then.
Well, I guess because it had cursing? Did it have cursing
it had,
in it?
it had cursing in it, but very mild to light cursing. It's just that I think we were just a little bit more stringent back then on what constituted an M rating.
Yeah.
And because Halo had guns and blood, it had like blood and violence in it, and some mild language, it got an M rating for being the game it was. Nowadays, if Halo came out, it would probably get a T. Considering, you know, like, it would have probably gotten a T if it had come out. But in 2001, yeah, that was an M. That was definitely an M.
Wow.
It was like, I don't see anything. I mean, granted, Destiny does not have blood in it, if you notice. You never shot anything and saw blood fly out of it. But, I mean, blood was enough to get you an M by a ratings board that was put together solely because of Mortal Kombat.
I knew you could do it, Guardian.
Nah, man, any blood, that's it. You can't be bleeding on me. Can't be bleeding.
Can't have any. The funny thing is, Mortal Kombat goes out of its way to be like as ridiculous as possible with its
we
violence.
understand that now.
Like, yeah.
Like what? Like what? Hit me.
Like everything that happens in Mortal Kombat, like the fatalities, the you know, the X-ray.
Oh man, I love
like,
the X-rays.
Everything about it's just ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense.
What do you mean taking off somebody's head and putting it in their stomach and then kicking them in the balls so that the head flies through the neck? Doesn't make any sense. That's how bodies work.
Yeah, no.
We don't have bones.
Or like when female characters get kicked in the balls somehow. It's like, okay, that shouldn't have the same effect. I feel like I feel like you shouldn't get hit with as much damage if you're playing as a female character. I feel like the character should be like a quarter.
Are you
of
going
the
off that
damage.
video I showed you where it said Cassie has balls? Are you going off that? Are you going off that?
Yeah.
All right, I will have you know, in defense of NetherRealm, you are absolutely right. But in defense of NetherRealm, that is actually a goof, because when X-rays and stuff like that occur, when people have to get hit in the balls, usually the women don't have balls. They don't. Usually when the X-ray happens, there's like a pubis, there's like a mons pubis. Yeah, I'm getting all medical on you. There's a pubis there, but there's no balls. But for some reason, Cassie has balls. Someone forgot to take her balls. I don't know, just when Arnold happens to hit her with that special, she has balls for some reason. But normally the women should not have balls.
The Fallen have tracked us to Nessus.
It's like I don't know, like an external ovary. Just,
both are key assets to our endeavors.
External ovary is kind of
that's kind of what a ball
there.
is, right? It's like by definition.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no expert. What did you do?
Oh,
What?
whoops.
Can't take you anywhere.
I guess I blew up.
Look at you and your laurels. How are your laurels doing? Are we generating enough for you? Should I change classes?
Let me check. No, you should stay.
No, I mean
for sure.
classes. I mean subclasses. I mean,
Oh, I'm at 45%.
is that an you were around 20 something, right? That's huge.
That's a significant. Yes,
Okay,
that's a
sweet,
significant
sweet.
improvement for sure.
I'll switch to an Arc Strider. That way I can run around and we'll have more Arc Souls, because it's the things that kill it's you killing with abilities.
And supers.
Yeah.
And
So I
grenades.
figure in that
Yeah.
case, as far as abilities go, I think having an Arc Soul out at all times would can increase the amount of laurels we'll get. I got a good bunch to myself. So
Nice.
Let's go.
that should be helpful. That should be helpful. You want to hit the next piece of Oh crabs! You want to hit the next piece of news in a second? I think it says well,
Yeah.
there's going to be kind of like an extended season of new game content because we got COVIDed
Yeah.
out of E3.
Yeah, so instead of just having E3, we're going to have something. What is it called? It's called the Game. It's called Game Fest.
That
And essentially, it's going to be like a 4-month season of like industry events that you don't have to attend personally.
Too many voices for me to focus.
So it's gonna be like,
Fallen or wrecking the ship. Scavenging
it's gonna
my
be
servants
like,
for
you know,
parts.
they'll have like panels and like, the hype stuff that we're used to. And guess who's gonna be hosting?
is it the Dorito Pope himself? Will the Dorito Pope bless
The
us with
Dorito
it?
Pope
What? Really?
himself.
I called it.
Yep.
Oh, see, and you thought I was silly every time I posted you the Dorito
Curated.
Pope prayer, but see, Hazel, curated by none other than Jeff Keighley.
Then Geoff Keighley. Yep.
Oh, Jeff,
Jeff
the real
Keighley.
MVP. Damn.
He is the real MVP of the gaming
You know-
industry. He should get more credit
Yeah.
for
I mean, look.
existing.
Game Awards. Now my man is curating what may very well be the new version of E3.
Yep, that's right.
I like this. You know, he may die very often so that we can be fly. You know, we may Photoshop giant Dorito crowns on his head, but I feel like he's very much in it for us. You know, he's very
He
much
is.
got us in mind. I mean,
He's in it for all
this
of
is
us.
the man that has been in and out of the industry, in and out, in bits and pieces, in and out
This
of the
webbing
industry.
on the
Okay,
floor looks like some kind of art
Mhm.
conductor.
all right. He stood in front of a
Probably
camera
best to keep
and
art
was like, "Yeah,
energy
you know,
away.
Konami's a bunch of dicks." We had an award for Mr. Kojima, and Konami actually did not want him to receive it. And everybody in the crowd was like, "Boo!" I cannot understate the level
Yeah.
of balls. I cannot understate the level
Yeah.
of balls that must have taken, because the Game Awards was only in what, its second year when he did that.
Yeah.
Even without the
But you know what? I think you're right. The balls.
Yeah.
I can't deny the balls were on a different level.
It's a lot to do that. It was like you think about all the people he was trying to get in, all the funding he was trying to get, the companies he was trying to get on board. It was like, if you were not someone on the outside,
But you know
like,
what?
Oh God, what if he calls us out like that? But it's like, no, like this is just a matter of principle here. I'm happy everybody saw it that way.
Yeah.
Because it was really messed up.
And you know what else? It was. But you know what else? I think it was clear by that point that Konami didn't give a shit about what anyone in the gaming industry thought. So, I guess maybe he felt vindicated. He was like, you know what? These people don't give an F
Yeah,
anyway.
and like anybody here, I don't think anybody is gonna defend Konami and basically pooping on their legacy for the sake
Right.
of profit,
Barrier down.
which is really all it was. I mean,
Right.
that's what I said to somebody the other day. Was like, that's what I said to my friend the other day. Like, he was like, "Oh man, I didn't think a developer could be this horrible." When the rumors about Naughty Dog, well, back when people thought the hack was a disgruntled Naughty Dog employee, and that was so easy to believe that people
Yeah.
just jumped on it anyway. I love news.
Yeah.
But this is like, okay, well, look. I said, at the very least, and I told my friend this, I said, look, I wouldn't say Insidious as so much as, hey, Konami at least was honest. I mean, Konami did not give a shit, and they at least said out loud, "We don't give a shit." So what they were doing was a lot easier to take. I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
EA on the other hand, I prefer the honesty rather than I don't want to be like EA. Like, hey man, this is gonna be one of the most story-rich, one of the most immersive experiences you've ever played.
I could have told you that wouldn't work.
And then you play it and it's got,
Oh,
and you
really?
play it and then it has loading screens everywhere.
Guardian down.
Oh
I mean,
man.
at least Konami will bamboozle you up front. They're like, listen,
I was so
we do not
worried
care about you
guys.
at all, okay?
Did you stop?
Now, if you want another save file,
Bamboozle.
yeah,
you
listen,
friend.
Konami was like, hey, play Metal Gear Survive. It's this game that's clearly full of reused assets from Metal Gear Solid 5. And we're like, okay. It's got zombies and survival elements. Remember zombies and survival games? You mean the games we got sick of like 5 years ago? Yeah, but this is both of them at once. Okay. Sure. Oh. And if you want more save files, you have to pay $10. And we're like, alright, I don't think I'm gonna play this, Konami. But we want your money! And I'm like, yeah, I just don't wanna give it to you. I need my
How dare you?
But see, like, Konami gave me a choice. They didn't bamboozle me. Like, I saw what Metal Gear Survive was and just didn't buy it. I was like, yeah, I'm not playing this. Yeah, this isn't a thing. This isn't how Metal Gear works. I'm pretty sure I was raised on Metal Gear. That's not how it works. I was like, alright.
Yeah. All right.
Like, alright, guys. At least I knew what I was getting into. For me, that's way better than buying something on false pretenses and realizing I've just been boozled. Like,
Yeah, that actually stings a
after
lot less.
Anthem Gear, I will never, in life, pre-order another EA game ever again. I had my reservations when I did it this time, and I was like, but this is I did it on the strength of how promising it seemed and what I knew about BioWare as a developer.
Yeah.
But I did so with
Really, that's what it was.
But I did so with heavy reservations. Like, I was kind of... But the beta kind of swayed me a little bit. Like, okay, I can see the... I can see the potential in it. This is just a demo, you know. Knowing what I know about demos, like, you know, this was produced a couple of months, you know, at least half a year in advance. I'm like, all right. Nah, man, no. I was playing the game.
No. That is bananas.
So yeah, I think, I think, you know, I think he's a very trustworthy entity. You know, he's one of very few left that you know when he's involved with something that it's usually, you know, 2 hour. It's to the benefit of the industry, to the medium. You know, he wants it to be taken more seriously. He wants it to have its own.
He does, and he. You know, he does, and he's taken some L's on our behalf.
I mean,
for
listen,
sure.
before you get that funding, that critical funding from the actual game companies, you kind of gotta just kiss that Schick Hydrobot ring first.
You gotta. I was about to say that. I was like, you need to get that Schick Hydrobot first, man. You're not willing to get down with the Schick Hydrobot. You may not get to the actual game development funding. Schick Hydrobot.
Oh, the gifts.
I don't think we're
Gifts will live on.
What was that?
Jeff.
Yeah, you know, I think that's great. I think that's great. I, in my own way, as something that is conceived by someone who has a clear love for the medium, love for the industry, and what it's, you know, what, the potential, what it means to its audience, I'd much rather trust the sensibilities of him than the ESA, which is who have been just ritually fooking it up just year after year, and I mean, you could blame a lot of what has become hype culture and what disingenuous previews and stuff like that to events like E3. Unfortunately, because
Yeah.
it was really exclusive before, in a way that I remember around the time we started dating, you were telling me like I used to view the weird collusion as a norm until you kind of piped up to me and was like, yeah, but you don't see anything wrong with that? And I'm like, what? Yeah, like, of course they send you these things and they give you these things and they fly you these places and they give you this stuff and you're like, you don't see what's wrong with that? Like, not even a little bit? I'm like, what? It's just, it's just what happened.
Yeah, you just took that as a given in the industry, when in any other industry it would be a big problem. Yeah.
So,
Dear, even the people that... Here, I'll point something out to you that you'll find interesting. Like, when people go to the Oscars and they get, like, these, like, gift baskets with samples. I mean, yeah, that stuff is free, but they have to pay the taxes on it.
really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Why? Wow, really?
Yeah, because well, it's a weird kind of complication. It's just basically a way for them to give it to you without it being a bribe, essentially.
Also, the fact that they have to pay for it means that it's not a bribe.
You should be. We've wiped your engineering deck clean.
Yeah, so
Good work, guys.
instead of saying that it's
Okay,
a
I've got
gift,
Zavala mobilizing other
they're
teams to secure
saying
the ship behind you.
that it's
Let me
a...
pull off this
It was like a
paper.
giveaway for something that you participated in. I know it seems like a fine difference, but it actually makes all the difference.
Well, I mean, how not?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's even like pretty much anything that like there could be the appearance of impropriety. There are like rules around it. The work that the work that I do now, like you can't even give people food. Like, no, you can't. Like, even because it's like, no, you can't. And there's a limit to how, like, say you can give them food, but there's a limit to how much you can give them in total. So, for example, if you and I were working together, right? And we met up at E3. And, let's say, you're like, somebody that I work with closely. And I said, hey, how about I take you to lunch? And you were like, sure, I take you to lunch. Lunch is $50, right? And then at around the holidays, I send you a gift. Just because, hey, we work closely. I now need to go back and check to make sure that the gift I'm giving you is not over a certain amount. Yeah, there's a limit to how much the gift can be worth. So it can't exceed I don't know how they came up with the amount, but it's something like $1,000 or something like that. So in a year, anything that I give you in total can't exceed $1,000. So if I wanted to give you an iPad, for example, I can't, because the iPad costs $1,000, right? And I already spent $50 on your lunch that one time that we met. Yeah. So yes, that's a long-winded, kind of boring way of me telling you that pretty much everywhere else there are strict limits around what you can, gifting and flying people places and doing that kind of stuff. So I was actually really surprised to hear that they just did that for people at one point.
Well, okay. I mean, I didn't think that was very boring at all, but
You
yes.
still there?
You not hear me talking?
Hello?
Do you not hear me talking?
No,
I said
I
that
heard you
wasn't
now.
boring at all.
Oh, I didn't hear that at all.
No,
I only heard what you
no,
said.
there was nothing
just now.
boring about that at all. That was actually pretty interesting.
Mhm.
There was like a cap. I can say that a lot of companies spent a lot of money on
Yeah,
this
there's a
stuff.
cap.
It's so funny. I'll still never forget what the press kit for Dante's Inferno looked like. Oh god, that was so fun.
What did
It
it
was
look
weird.
like?
They were sending people. It was weird. Like I think some depending on who. I don't think anyone was specially selected. I'm pretty sure it was like random at best. But they had like these huge boxes that like represented the deadly sins. It was just some weird, crazy, elaborate shit.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, like when review copies were sent out, you'd get some crazy package. Like the stuff would be packaged in some madness. And I was just like,
Do they still do
I
that?
don't think so. Not as much. Not as much anymore, no. Nowadays, you get codes and such. Not these like huge, elaborate displays or boxes that they spent a bunch of money on. But it was like genuinely high quality stuff that they used to like package their things in. And to not think of that, like, it's weird, like, looking back on it, to not think of that as, something obviously designed to kind of meld your brain in a positive way.
Yeah, of course. That's why they did it. Yeah.
But
And just the idea of flying you out somewhere.
that I've never
you
actually
know?
been comfortable with. That in particular, I always thought was kind of weird. Like flying you out to a location to like, either play it in a controlled environment or experience it in a certain way. That in particular had always kind of rubbed me weird because I'm
Yeah.
like, why does the environment you know what I mean? Like, why does the environment need to change when the most important thing is the game?
Right. Right. Like I could see under certain situations, right? Like say you're a very special kind of beta tester. Like I get that. Like I heard that at one point Bungie flew a bunch of prominent streamers to test Destiny.
Okay. That makes sense.
Which-
That's a particular kind of person.
That right. Right. And Bungie is at that point, I'm sure there's a bunch of NDAs involved. They're not journalists who are required by trade to be impartial,
Yeah.
right? Or try to be as objective as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's just it. They're not someone who's about to, affect the professional, affect public perception of your product. These are people that you're actually asking critical questions in designing an experience. They're not about to take their findings and publish them in a way that would sway public opinion.
right. Right, right. Right, exactly right.
So,
Although you could make the argument that the entire role of an quote unquote influencer is
To
just
influence.
that.
well,
Yeah. But which is why they instituted this happened a few years later. If you are an influencer and you're being paid
disclose that it's an ad.
to promote You have to disclose that. I mean, they didn't used
That's
to
because
have
of Kardashians.
to. At first, like in the Wild West of 2000, I don't know, 12 or whatever, when bloggers were really, 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 really getting
Yeah,
going.
but like it was I remember
They didn't
I remember
have to.
specifically it was because of the Kardashians. The pick one out of a hat. We're promoting things like skinny teas
Yeah.
and dietary whatevers, and
Mhm.
and they were never putting that. You know, they were always talking about how they were using them, but never disclosing that it was, you know,
Mhm.
essentially a paid advertisement.
That
Like,
they
yeah,
were
right, you're
being
not really
paid.
using this stuff, are you? No, you're not. And the more people started using them and not, you know, getting the desired result, so to speak, it would take umbrage either with them or with the company. And as the finger pointing increased, it was like, all right, look, if you are advertising something, you are going to have to disclose it. There's no more of this, yeah, you know, every time I wake up in the morning, I just mix one of these bullshit drinks and I'm ready to start my day. It's like, well, are you being paid to see?
Is that
Are you
what
being
you do?
paid to say this? Because it would be a lot easier for me to judge your integrity or the integrity of the product if I know this is a paid advertisement. But yeah,
Yeah.
at first, oh man, it was just like, hey, promote our ass cream.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to say a word. They just took the paycheck, and you know, their audience were the guinea pigs.
Yeah. That is crazy to me. And the amount of money they're paid per post, it's
Oh, yeah.
insane. It's like outrageous. I'm like, I can't believe that's even worth it.
If their following is large enough, I mean, yeah,
Like,
yeah, I guess.
I mean, yeah, they have some very large following, but damn, that's all I have to say.
That's insane.
Like, yeah, that's just insane.
Are you picking up a lot of laurels from all my ARC shenanigans? Because if you're not, okay.
I am.
All right, because if you weren't, I was going to try and switch to something else that might do it more. But if this is good, all right, good. All right. Happiness.
Yeah.
That's insane. But that was to say to the greater point that, you know, I'm glad that he is coming up with something like this rather than the organization that helped foster this kind of thing.
Yeah.
The ESA, you know, we do have a few things to thank the ESA for, but, you know, in general, they could have done a lot better on a lot of things. And in critical moments where they should have protected the games industry, they simply didn't. So it's clear what their agenda is as far as, you know, making money and making sure that, I mean, it's insane that we kind of had to fight them tooth and nail just because loot boxes absolutely were a problem, a significant problem that no one was addressing or even bothering to classify. And when push came to shove, the ESA took the side of, well, the people making the freaking loot boxes. Why? They took the game from that too. And, you know, they, as we know, run E3. E3 was built on this weird culture. So to see that in the wake of it not existing for a year, that someone who actually cares about the industry, cares about these games, you know, the artists that make them, the audience that consumes them. I'm very interested to see what that looks like. I'm down for that idea. I'm down for the idea of a game fest. And
yeah, I want to see. Like, I'm gonna keep an eye on that. It actually sounds really cool. And it's gonna be a 4-month-long event, you know, because I guess it'll start.
I also wasn't.
I don't know when it
Also wasn't
starts.
helped by the number of companies
Let's
that
see,
pulled
does it
out of
say?
E3 prior. I mean, Nintendo hasn't been to E3 since like 2013. They've been doing Nintendo Directs. And Sony, you know, infamously pulled out of E3 this year, even before there were COVIDs flying around.
COVID.
Even before the COVIDs. I mean, sure, Microsoft has deep enough pockets that they could do it every year until they die, but I feel like the greater point
Yeah.
was that, you know, some publishers, some developers, by and large, were kind of pulling out of E3 gradually anyway.
Yeah. Well, it kind of became a lot. I feel like a lot of major. I feel like that was a trend. And one thing that I was reading about the other day is that a lot of the stuff that's happening now because of COVID-19 are just things that have been accelerated, that were kind of underway to happening anyway. For example, large companies pulling out of these like consumer
Yeah.
shows. Like that has been a trend that had been ongoing for a
But I
while,
mean,
you know, and it was not just E3, like CES, um, South by
GDC.
Southwest.
GDC is one of them, the Game Developers Conference.
So yeah, that had been slowly going on for a while. So, and you know, as you were saying, you know, Nintendo doesn't even show up anymore. Sony was doing their own thing.
Yeah, by and large.
Lots of smaller developers did not even
Well, I mean, I
show
love that
up.
Devolver Digital had taken to just
Like-
making fun of E3 for like 3 years straight. Just doing their own like parody version of E3, which was extremely funny. But yeah, you're right in that it just made
Yeah.
like this, you're right in that it pretty much accelerated this foregone conclusion that everyone was coming to slowly. Nintendo came to it a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's like, what do we have to gain from having to pay money?
From going over there.
You know, to basically, you know, prostrate ourselves for hype culture for a good 2 months at an end when we can just directly reach our
Yeah.
audience via live stream, tell them everything they need to know, show them what we want to show
Yeah.
them, and not have to worry about anything, you know, diluting our message.
Guardian down.
And Ubisoft was even considering doing it, I think, this year, but now, I mean, you get a year of when a virus shows you, hey, maybe we don't need to do this. You know, you were so used to just pushing the buttons, spending the monies, sending the journos, sending your people, paying for the, you know, the flights, and it's
Yeah.
like the year you don't have to do it. It's like, wait, why do we have to do this? Look at how much money we just saved. Why haven't we been doing this? And then that's when the groundswell of change comes, I suppose.
Yeah.
They were forced to ask themselves why, and they didn't have a good answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we've been heading in this direction for quite a while now. And now we're
It's
here.
just so abrupt.
It's very abrupt.
Mars will live to see another day.
Yay!
Oh, did you get a thing?
Well, I did a whole lot, I'll tell you that. Let's see. Where am I at?
Just laurels.
Just laurels. Laurels everywhere. Jeez.
Alright, good.
I don't have room for all this loot. All this loot.
The
There's
aforementioned,
more laurels over there.
the aforementioned
Laurels.
promised ton of loot.
There will be a ton of loot.
That was a great commercial.
It was.
That was such a great commercial.
So funny. I actually. So, do you want to go to the tab?
Sure. I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna get one of those postmaster warnings. Pretty sure I'm on the cusp of a postmaster is running out of space warning, so yeah. Maybe a Gambeezy if you're down, but I think we're good. Yep, the postmaster is completely out of space. If you don't retrieve your items, you will be BTFO'd. Alright, gotcha.
Okay.
They hit me with that. Yes, I will be BTFO'd.
BTFO'd.
Excuse me. It's a little bit.
Snort. Yeah, so that reminds me, like around when that was happening, when was that? Like 2016?
2016.
Ish. Right, that's when Destiny 2 came out.
Destiny 2 came out in 2017, boo.
2017. Okay. So around the time when that came out, I actually used Destiny to model a campaign I wanted to do.
A campaign? Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go on.
Because I mean, they didn't do anything spectacular, but they did a really good job creating hype. Like, think of how they rolled out Destiny 2. They were like, okay, we're gonna give you a trailer, right? And the trailer was for a trailer.
What?
Like, they were like, you know, join us on this date to see, you know, and we joined them on that date, and they gave us a video, and then maybe a little bit of gameplay.
They did. I think
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, because they showed us
And
like a little
then-
bit of Homecoming. I think. Like they didn't show us all of it, but they showed us like
Yeah, they
half
showed
of
us a
it, like
little-
5 minutes of it. I think.
Right. They showed us a little bit of Homecoming. They gave us like a trailer and then just a little bit of Homecoming. And then after that, they gave us a bunch of videos that were like that commercial, like there will be a time loop.
You're
G-
famous.
Gary,
If I could help
something
you, it
with
would
a
be
G.
just
Go.
Gary. And that became his name. Little did Bungie know that would become his official name.
want you to be happy.
I have called him nothing but that. Gary.
Gary.
Gall.
Something with a G. And then they cut to Zavala. Go. And he's like very serious. He's like... It was simultaneously serious and
Yes.
funny, which worked really well for it. But when you really think about it, how much did they really give us up front? All they gave us was a video that's obviously not in the game. It was recorded just to be a commercial, right? A little bit of gameplay,
Yeah.
Hunters, titans, warlocks.
and then it just became infinitely shareable. Like, they hyped us up to get the video, and then we got the video plus a little bit of gameplay, and then they gave us the video on social media so we could share it.
Don't forget the beta date. Because don't forget like Destiny 1
yes.
before it, we did get to play Destiny 2 for like a weekend. I think they had like a really short beta that let you play like I think some of Homecoming and like some Crucible. I think it wasn't a terribly large, but it was like a small beta that let you like play a little bit of the game. So we
That's
did
true,
get
that's
like we
true.
got that, we got the beta that lasted like I think for 2 weekends. Like they had 2 separate weekends that summer that they actually ran the beta, so you got to look at these little bite-sized pieces of the Crucible. But yeah, most of it was
Yeah.
very self. It was very what do you call that? Like guerrilla? What do you call it when you have it when you leave it up to the people
Yeah.
to spread the word? What's that called? Like grassroots or
I mean,
what kind of marketing is that?
they want. I wouldn't say it's either grassroots or guerrilla. It's too well funded for that. At that point, It was too well funded, and it was way too well planned. So guerrilla marketing would be, what Rockstar
Oh
used to
man.
do, which is they would just hire people to put stickers
I love that.
everywhere and
Yeah.
like,
You can always tell in New York City whenever
yeah,
a new Rockstar game is coming out. If you live in NYC.
yeah, like that would be like, yes, because they'll literally be like Rockstar games or
Any
whatever,
questions?
Grand Theft Auto 5 or whatever it is, everywhere,
Landmarks.
everywhere. You cannot miss it. You're like, who the fuck is even putting all these stickers out? What's going on?
Best to enjoy the
Why?
games.
True.
Celebrate the start.
I'll never forget that when Max Payne 2 came out. Oh my god. When Max Payne 2, the fall of Max Payne, oh my, it was on trains, buses, airplanes. It was stuck on park benches. There were pamphlets on the floor, murals. It's like, jeez, okay, I bought it already. I bought it. Stop following me everywhere I go. It's just Max Payne.
Checking.
I'm already in pain. The maximum amount. Can we stop now? Yeah.
The maximum
It
amount of
has been
pain.
achieved, okay? I'm seeing you everywhere. But yeah, I mean, it was a very effective. It was a very, very effective campaign. I gotta say, and it did rely heavily on us.
Yeah, it relied heavily. Well, it didn't really. It did, but also it was very well designed so that it made us feel like we were
Yeah,
part of it.
yeah, definitely. Like,
And
who else knows who Cade is?
yeah.
But who else would appreciate moments like that except, people who know who Cade is?
Acknowledged.
Like, it would intrigue new people. It would intrigue newer players. But for us, it's like, oh my gosh. Like, it feels like he's talking to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm that guy making
Like, I
funny
really,
faces in the
really-
back there.
Yeah. In the back.
You remember that guy that kept, like, making all those funny faces every
Except-
time Cade would say something weird? He's like,
Oh yeah, the guy in the back.
Yeah, like, that was us.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was they really whoever creates their trailers and their promotion plans is on point
Yeah.
because they have never failed.
I
They
don't know how they
always
make
work.
it look so easy. Like, because I play this game. Jessica. We play this game, and I still have no idea how
Yeah, we do.
the considerations that they make to make this game look so ridiculous. Stuff that if I stare at it long enough, I can just go, oh, all right, like, that's what it is. But in the trailer,
Yeah.
it's like, what? Yeah. Framing is a huge.
Oh my god, that's
Yeah,
it.
like, framing is a huge
Yeah.
thing. If you really
Yeah.
pull the camera back, it's like, oh, that's what they're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'd say let people let them do that on their own terms. I think without the hype bubble clouding everyone's judgment or the inclusivity or the exclusivity of certain events and happenstances, is that I think that'll just leave it down primarily to the games and the developers.
Mhm.
And I think I cannot guarantee, there's always some element of smoke and mirrors, I suppose, with advertising, but I think it would lead to a more genuinely felt showing all around. And might be a little bit easier
Yeah.
to put your trust in, especially if you're the more cynical of us as a society. I think we're becoming more cynical of media. So to really put an event like that, yeah, I mean, I feel like in general, a lot of people have become more cynical towards media and journalists and more skeptical when it comes to taking their claims to heart. I mean, Jason Schreier came out like a day or two ago and really clarified what we now know about the Naughty Dog situation. And you know, the first reaction, of course, was to like call him out on it, like he was lying, like, whatever, Jason, you're a shill, you're just trying to protect Sony. And he had to say, wait a minute, all right, in one tweet.
Thank you.
Love it. He's like, okay, first, do you know that I'm the guy who blew open the lid on Naughty Dog's crunch practices? Why would I be trying to protect them? Like what? How does it benefit me in any way, shape, or form to protect Sony? So I know it's trendy, and he's like, I know it's trendy right now to be distrustful of the media, but really sit and think about this. Like, what do I have to gain for protecting Naughty Dog from anything?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, that's true. You are the one who. Oh, oops. Yeah, I guess so. Like,
Add you to the
yeah, like, oh, yeah, that was you. Oops.
Okay.
Well. Snort.
Snort.
So it's like, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's just a nice. It's a good way to. Really, again, when people have someone they can trust, like the same way all we need to know here is like, hey, it's Jeff Keighley. All right, yeah, we got yeah. It's refreshing to see that it at least, you know, can be held up by individuals or people or entities that we trust, rather than just people becoming more and more skeptical in the wrong ways. Not everybody's out to get your cheeks. You know, some people do truly love what they do.
Till next time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some people they're just out here because they love it.
Yeah, so I really like that. I think that'll be interesting. I look forward to it.
I am actually really excited for it. Let me see if I can get some dates. Let's see.
Any questions, dear?
Eva, Las Vegas. Eva, Las Vegas.
What do you think of my new space? I'm still decorating.
Las Vegas.
Eva, I think your podium is in the space where the obelisk used to be. I don't want to be the one to tell you, but I think in about 39 days they're gonna tear this thing down and put a Titan statue in its place. Oh, Titan statue. Hold on. Oh, wait, no.
Oh, it says it over in May through August. Although we don't have any actual dates here yet.
May through
Let's
August?
see.
Okay. That's actually lines up.
Remember,
Yeah, let's see.
we are strongest together.
So what? Actually, here's an interesting quote I want to share with you. Something that he
Hit me.
said. He said, "It's been a busy quarantine. Really doing a lot, listening to where different game developers where different developers are, and what we can do to help them, as well as listening to fans who really want to believe in something bigger." It felt like maybe there's a chance to start something new from the comfort of home. But yeah, he's totally right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know everyone's on board too. Hey, bring
Yeah, why not? What else are you doing?
bring nothing but yourself and your passions. It's very interesting. Like I said, you know, it's interesting watching all of these different industries shift over from, you know, dissemination of information through access media to just directly touching their audience. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's why so many game publications have, you know, died out or gone by the wayside, or because access isn't necessarily what dictates how you reach your audience anymore. Not with the internet the way it is, and not with companies able to reach people directly. People are more inclined to go for personalities, entities, single people, even small groups of people that they can trust, rather than the traditional media companies. Because before, we had to. People had to.
Hi there.
Because access was the determining factor in whether or not you got the news you wanted. Now that's not really such a problem anymore. Not so much of a problem. So it's like, yeah. Yeah, why go through the essay? Why go through this outlet?
Yeah.
Why go through
Right. Yeah.
it's sad to see one industry, die off so that another one can be fly, but when you blockbuster video it up, and really dig your heels into your model while the world changes around you, you have no, there's nothing left,
Yeah. Oh, their website is actually really cool. I'm sending you the website now for them. I mean, nothing's happening on the website yet. It just says Game Fest, Summer Game Fest, May
Game
through
Fest.
August 2020. An industry-wide celebration of video games. And I think you can sign up to get notifications and stuff whenever they're ready.
Okay, sweet.
And very nicely designed splash page they've got there.
You send it? Oh,
Yeah, I
crap,
sent
my
it.
phone died. Okay. I'll get it inside.
So much
Oh.
Like, right, is that, hey. Remember batteries? Remember battery life? Remember when I said 10% remaining?
Yeah.
No, I don't, actually.
Well, now you know the problem.
Alright, Guardian Games. I don't know what to think about you.
I imagine your
Eva,
life must be
Eva,
terribly exciting.
I feel like you deserved a little bit better. I think...
Poor Eva. I feel like
I
they
feel
just
like...
put her out here.
I feel like we could have really used... and I know I keep going back to this well. I really feel like we could have used another round of Emperor Callus. Like, I like the menagerie. It's still, I think, fondly remembered by many a Guardian and or, I just see a lot of people mention menagerie. Like, whenever I watch something by, say, Azita Cross or any of the other, like, smaller content, like any of the other Destiny content creators, whenever they talk about seasonal activities or whenever they talk about activities in general, I almost start a stopwatch just to see how long it'll take before they mention the menagerie. And all of them, in some way, shape, or form, mention the way either menagerie worked or the way Sundial worked, because Sundial was a lot like menagerie. But
Right. Yeah.
even if you had to pivot like a beast, knowing you weren't going to get the content you wanted to get, I think it would have been an awesome idea to maybe build it around some of the events in the menagerie. That would have made me feel like, hey, this is some Olympic type bleep. A bunch of small activities to like run through and like prove your mettle. I feel like there's a slight missed opportunity here with the games. Especially, remember what I mentioned last week? The whole, like, you go into matchmaking, it'd be like Crucible matches, but whole teams of classes against each other. Like a team of warlocks versus a team of hunters.
That would be so fun. Yes. I'm so surprised they didn't do that.
I have the distinct air, weirdly enough, of thwarted plans. I don't know why. Poor hunters.
Poor
Hunters never stood a chance. Their banner's just going through the podium. It's just going through the podium.
And there's all sorts of threads on Twitter going on right now with
really?
devs, like actually answering questions like, why are the Titans all the way up there? Like, they have actual Bungie devs are like No, we actually checked. There's no bug. There are no exploits going on. Titans really are winning. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
I feel like they created
Yeah.
a foolproof. I feel like they created a foolproof way to do it, which was making it depend on on medals. Because if it was laurels, we absolutely would have an unfair, like a crazy unfair advantage. If it actually were laurels. But these things are depending on how many medals you chuck into the dispenser. So that it literally just means
Right.
whoever's playing the Titan class, they are getting all of the medals.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, these medals aren't exactly easy to get or something you can cheese. You kind of actually have to play the events.
No, you actually have to do
Yeah.
the stuff. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, listen, I welcome the salt just like anyone else out there. But I don't know, boo. I mean, at least warlocks are in second. Right?
Yeah, I guess.
Even though y'all need nerfs. Look at that poor hunter. Look at the futility of it all. You deposit those medals, you poor misguided soul. He's like, it's not moving. It's not moving. We're just like, sorry. Poor hunters.
Yeah. I mean, that's just wow.
I mean, I'm sorry, dude. We still have to blame you for this, but yeah. Had you not
How is it
spread
my
all
fault?
that anti-Titan propaganda prior to the Guardian games, you would not have galvanized the Hunter Task Force into headbutt vindication.
I still think they need nerfs. So
What?
get all the medals you want.
What? You come back here. Don't run up there, and I see you. Listen. Talking about my peeps. Talking about my peeps like that.
Well, that's true. They need nerfs.
My man's over there with the boulder shoulder holders. The Order of the Boulder. The shoulder breakers. What are you doing? Stop that. Stop it. Alright. Alright. For the love of the old decrepit tower, stop. You see it over there? Wouldn't that be something? I mean, you know what? I was kind of personally hoping for, like, I thought the Almighty would crash into this and we'd go back to the old tower. Like, I like the old tower.
Are they rebuilding the old tower? It's been quite a while. I feel like this construction project
It kind of looks...
should really get
You think
underway.
they're building it back? Yeah. I mean, it looks like it. I mean, looks like they're really trying to just keep it from falling into everything else. I would love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The old tower had a lot of character to it. It had a very lived-in feel to it that I appreciated. A lot of Destiny, you know what? I noticed a lot of Destiny
did.
1. I don't know if it's just me. A lot of Destiny 1 had a very lived-in feel to it. Like all the environments, all the areas. Like when you go to the Cosmodrome, or the moon to a lesser extent, but like Mars, the Earth. They had this very lived-in feel to it. Like this has been here for some time, and there's a history behind it that I haven't quite figured out, but I will know. Like I will eventually. I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's.
That's true.
I don't know if it's the nature of, I don't know if it's because the game looks better or because it's got a more diverse color palette. But it doesn't have that like that lived in feel to it. It looks very slick. But it doesn't look I don't know what I don't know what I'm You get me kind of? No?
Yeah, it looks a little too polished.
That might be the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Come here and let me.
Yeah, that might be it. That might be a polish.
Yeah. Whereas the old tower felt like, you know, people were living there.
Like, this is the last refuge. I do love that you can see it in the background, though. I mean, it's right
Yeah.
there. And I guess I look forward to seeing the Almighty crash into this thing a week before it happens. They had look, if the second to last or last week does not, if I can't see the Almighty in the sky in at least the last week before, I'm gonna scream. I want to look up and see it. All right, Nintendo did this with Zelda.
I'm sure we'll be able to see it
20
at some
years
point.
ago. Cut it out, guys. Put it in the skybox. It's right there. Giant tower.
I bet you they'll do it after
Look at this
Guardian
tower.
games.
Look at this. Look at the Traveler.
I hope you're having fun.
It's so big. It's so big and so broken.
It is. It's huge.
But I can't get no Almighties. Come on, man. Oh.
I think they'll show it eventually. Yeah.
I honestly, this
Yeah.
is definitely. I mean, I guess you know,
Guardians compete.
if we're gonna be following that Destiny 1 trajectory, I suppose it's not unusual for there to be a period of mass dryness. This is the dry period,
Mhm.
right? We got our Dark Below and House of Wolves moment. Then we had our Taken King moment in the form of Forsaken. Now we've had our Rise of Iron moment in the form of Shadowkeep. And now we have our dry desert moment
I hope you're having fun.
in the form of Season of the
Yep.
Worthy. What did we get after the dryness? We got something cool, right? Something cool came after
Well,
the dryness, right?
after the dryness, we actually got Taken King.
No. We're past Taken King. I'm talking about. You don't remember the period of dryness that happened after Rise of Iron came out? That's why we got the summer update in the first place. We had Rise of
Oh.
Iron, and we were like, "Woo, Rise of Iron!
Yeah.
Felwinter and mountains and Aphrodite and more mountains and Siva." But then it was like, yeah.
Now what?
So this is the post Rise of Iron dry period.
Yeah.
You know, we're following the trajectory.
Yeah.
So you know, if the pattern holds, we should have something to look forward to. Something. I just want to see the darkness. Okay.
Man, me too. I feel like we've been waiting for this for quite a while.
I really hope they. I really hope they nail it, because I love the map. I don't care about how you know, whatever, to the way the rest of this season has been handled. I love the map as a visual element.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. I love going down into the bunker and just seeing that thing move. Like tomorrow, I am very excited. I don't know why. There's just a small part of me that's really excited to see where the map is gonna be tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. Actually, that's the most interesting part of the
They've
season.
crossed
so
the
far.
belt. They've crossed the belt. If they're up to that planet,
Yeah.
planet this week, I'm gonna go. Ah! You know, I'm gonna have my little freak out moment, but yeah, I'm not saying that they're not doing it. I would love for it to be more prescient. That's all. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we shall.
I feel like you're tapping out on me a bit. Is it the time? I feel like I'm being tapped
Sorry.
out on. I can tell by
It
your
is the time.
responses, the tone of said responses, that I am being tapped out on. You just don't want to admit it.
I
Just
am
hit
a
me
little
with those
stupid.
half-hearted. Yeah, tower, triangles, black Doritos.
Black Doritos.
They have those, don't they? We should buy those.
Well, I don't know about all that.
What, we can't get no black Doritos? So you're denying me my potential future as the Black Dorito Pope? Well, fine.
I mean, they're Doritos.
But they're black Doritos. What, are you afraid of getting black dust on your hands?
No, I'm afraid of eating Doritos.
What if they're female Doritos?
What does that even mean?
You don't remember the Doritos for women?
Or are you just here to chat?
Oh yeah, the ones that wouldn't like.
They were like in a
geez.
smaller bag, so you could fit it in your.
We have survived the Red Legion
sorry.
before. We will do
And
it
like they were especially like they
Like
wouldn't
dust your fingers. They were like
They wouldn't dust your fingers.
yeah,
Like
that's
what
the.
That was just
No,
so
but-
weird.
But that's the one thing
Yeah.
that was stopping you from. I mean, if there was anything, that was the barrier between you and consuming Doritos. Was the dust from the.
From the Dorito, or was it the fact that it's a Dorito?
You know, I just think that you can't appreciate the fact that they shaped it in a triangle. Okay, you're just. They were like, "What more do you want from us?"
You know, they should have shaped them like vaginas. Why didn't they shape them like vaginas? I mean, they should have just done that.
I don't think the target demographic would be you anymore at that point, though. I think.
Remain vigilant, Guardian.
Just be like, hey, here's a bunch of vaginas. See anything familiar?
No. The mental imagery is killing me. I can't do this. I can't do it. We're gonna have to close out tonight on that terrible note. Vagina-shaped Doritos. Do not eat them.
Do not
Goodness.
eat those.
All right. Listen. The Almighty may be
Alright.
the Almighty, but we are human. And I think that's a definite note to close out on today's show. The Guardian games, where you have to make your fun. Did we make our fun tonight?
We made our fun, for sure.
Yeah. That was the real gift, right? The bounties that
Yeah.
we completed along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. I feel good about that. Feel good. Feel good. It was nice to warlock it up with you tonight. I
Me
might
too.
bring out the shoulders next episode. I might bring out the boulders.
Back out there.
For the
That
last
sounds
week,
good.
we're, if you want to help me laurel it up in the name of my people.
Yeah, we'll
People.
lower it up. The name of your people.
The order of the shoulder boulder holders.
Okay.
Don't get mad. It rhymes.
That's
I know.
cool.
I'm sorry.
Well-
I'm sorry that warlock does not rhyme with anything. Not anything pleasant, anyway.
It rhymes with
Mm-hmm.
lots of things, okay. So people you guys wanna check us out on the social medias. We're on
Absolutely.
Twitters,
That
on
too.
the YouTubes,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
imagine.
on the
Mm.
Instagrams, and
On the
Facebook.
Facebooks as well.
Experimenting with darkness is a dangerous path.
Inferno Penguins.
.com.
It is worth the risk.
And yeah, Inferno Penguins on social and InfernoPenguins.com.
Indeed. InfernalPenguins.com. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate you. We'll be back on Wednesday with more musings, more rusings, and most importantly, more black
shall.
Doritos. We will see you then. There will
we'll
be
see
more
you
black
then.
Doritos. Seriously.
I know it.
Hit me with a number now. There's like what, 16? Like 16 of them now? 20 of them? How many do you think will be there by the next episode?
No, there's way more than
All right, so how many do you
16.
think are going to be there next time?
Well, it looks like they're about like 30 or 40 now. So next week we're gonna see double that. We're gonna see like
Gosh,
80.
the entire half of the map is going to be red. I'm going to go with that prediction. You.
Yep.
May the force be with us all. May the fourth be with us all. And good night, everybody.
Good night.